Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 26, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition of the podcast, the day after Christmas. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. Happy Kwanzaa to everyone out there celebrating. We got a big Philly sports weekend, so let's go get into it. Obviously, the big news, big game of the weekend is Eagles-Bills on Sunday afternoon. They were off yesterday. A.J. Brown would have missed practice due to getting his wisdom teeth out. Doesn't appear that it's going to impact him one way or the other playing. Lane Johnson didn't practice, and neither did Nakobe Dean. Landon Dickerson was sick. Seems to be a lot of illness right now going around our teams in South Philly. But everyone else on Wednesday was a full participant, and this is what they released yesterday. So we'll find out more today. Lane already said he's going to play. I assume Landon, barring something crazy, is going to play. AJ, the timing was a little inauspicious, but I guess that they figured that out, and he should be on track to play. Nakobe Dean's the wild card in there, but Jahad Campbell did well playing in that game against Washington, so we'll see what happens. But Kyle and I did a full breakdown of it. The Brotherly Birds breakdown is available now, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We talked through a variety of things. But essentially for me, going into this game, I think the Eagles are going to continue to roll their momentum. I have them winning 27-24. I think the Bills could be run against. So I look for them to continue what they're doing, especially the angry runs by Saquon and Tank Bigsby. Obviously, they need to contain Josh Allen. They've done a fair job, I guess, with mobile quarterbacks. If you kind of look at it, Justin Herbert ran all over them, but he couldn't do much passing. So I think you got to limit. I mean, Josh Allen is going to get his runs, so you got to limit that. But I think for the most part, they did a good job with Mariota last week before he got injured. And I do think they got to play clean. No mistakes, whether that be fumbles, turnovers, by the special teams, missed kicks, Jake Elliott, I'm looking at you, stupid penalties, things like that. But you can't give the Bills chances in this game. But this could be a Super Bowl preview. I still think, looking forward to this game, I said from the beginning of the year, depending on how this season plays out, this could be a huge game. And it is. The Eagles are still right there in line for this 2 seed. So this game is going to go a long way. Same way with the Bills. So let's see how it plays out. But I got the Eagles winning a close one, 27-24. I think I've seen enough to kind of, this is not 23. I feel like they've kind of turned that corner a little bit and are trending heading into the playoffs in the right direction. Sixers are in action tonight out in Chicago. Joel is listed as questionable with that hyperextended knee, among other injuries. They might need him, though, because VJ Edgecombe, Dominic Barlow, and Quentin Grimes are also listed as questionable. Apparently, whatever Tyrese Maxey had last week is going through the team. So not even sure if those guys flew out to Chicago, but they might need Joe for this game. And then, of course, on Sunday, they are in OKC for a huge game against them. You want to talk about a measuring stick game. There's the game you measure yourself against. So we'll see what happens. I mean, depending if those other guys play, maybe they set Joe out and have him ready for the OKC game. But we'll see. This is sort of the wash, rinse, and repeat cycle we're in right now with the Sixers team, especially with the whatever illness going around is taking taking its toll on this team. Flyers are heading out west after the holiday break. They're in action Sunday against Seattle. And then whatever that loop is, they do Edmonton, Calgary, whatever the other team is out there. So tough road trip for the Flyers, but maybe it's a good chance for them to get away and sort of regroup and continue what their hot streak has been recently. All right, some quick housekeeping. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Like, subscribe, review, comment, all of that stuff helps us out. Even if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, head over to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. And if you really want to know when things get posted, because in the new year, I got some ideas for things I'm going to do, hit the little bell and you get notified as soon as something gets posted. I mentioned the Brotherly Birds Breakdown. That is available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And of course, if you want to see Abby make her podcasting debut on the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network Members Pod, that is also out now as well. Just search clashingconferences.com. Let's go back to Wednesday now, and Wednesday's trivia question. Well, I said Cody Parkey, or I asked who, I just gave it away. I asked who was the Eagles' all-time leading scorer for a single season, and it was Cody Parkey in 2014. If you remember back, we talked about David Akers setting the single season scoring mark for the Eagles, but it's Cody Parkey with 150 points in the 2014 season. And continuing down that rabbit hole, today's trivia question, who is the highest non-kicker scoring season in Eagles history? So the top 10 to 15 are all kickers. A lot of David Akers, a lot of Cody Parkey, believe it or not. I think Alex Henry is on there. Jake Elliott's on there a couple times. Paul McFadden. But who has the highest non-kicker scoring season in Eagles history? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531, or hit the Discord channel, which is one of the first links in the description. But what non-kicker has the highest scoring season in Eagles history? All right, and since we were off yesterday, didn't mean anything did not happen in Philly sports history. First, we're going to go back to 1986, and on Christmas Day, 1986, the Sixers lose to the Washington Bullets 102-97, returning to the Phillies for the first time since he was traded unceremoniously, or ceremoniously, whatever you want to call it. That offseason was Moses Malone, who came back and dominated his former team. 28 points, 21 rebounds, and 5 blocks. The guys that were traded with Moses, or for Moses, Jeff Rowland did not play due to the knee injury, but Cliff Robinson did have 28 points and 9 rebounds. But remember, we got Cliff, not Clifford Robinson. We got the wrong Cliff Robinson. Rest in peace to both Cliff Robinsons, though. And then in 2006, the Eagles go down to Dallas, beat them 23-7. Jeff Garcia threw for 238 yards and a touchdown. Brian Westbrook ran for 122 yards. Defense forced 3 turnovers as the Eagles win the NFC East on Christmas Day down in Dallas. And then Jeff Garcia famously said, "Merry Christmas, Philadelphia. Merry Christmas." This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. All right, December 26th. First, we're going to go back to 1960, and this was a huge day in Eagles history. They welcomed the Packers to Franklin Field for the NFL championship game, sent them back to Green Bay with a 17-13 loss. Tommy McDonald and Ted Dean both scored for the Eagles. Dean on a late fourth quarter rushing touchdown to give the Eagles the lead. And then with the Packers trying to take the ball in and win the game, Chuck Bednarik tackled Jim Taylor at the 9. stayed on top of him until the clock read 0, and then said, Taylor, you can get up now. This damn game is over. They don't make him like Chuck Bednarik anymore. But the Eagles win their first championship since 1949, despite being outgained 401 to 296. Packers were moving all over that defense, but could not punch it in the end zone. Vince Lombardi, the legendary Packers coach, did go for it a few times on fourth down instead of kicking field goals. And after the game in the interview said, that's on me. I should have taken the points when we had them, especially in a 17-13 game. Any chance and any points you can get. Norm Van Brocklin was the MVP for the Eagles, and Vince Lombardi, the legendary coach, aforementioned legendary coach, that was his only loss in a playoff game for the Packers. So that's one of those claim to fames of that 1960 Eagles team. It'd be a long time though since until the Eagles would win another championship, going all the way to 2018 at Super Bowl 52. But on this day, Eagles were champions of the world, winning it at home. Last time an NFL championship game was played in Philadelphia, beating the Packers 17-13. And then in 2001, Sixers beat the Clippers 100-86. Allen Iverson, 23 points, 10 assists. Derek Coleman, coming back to the team for a second stint, had 17 points and 13 rebounds. All 5 Sixers starters and Aaron McKee all scored in double digits as Larry Brown won his 800th game in the NBA, becoming the 9th coach in NBA history to achieve that milestone. Some sad news. On this day in 2004, legendary Eagle Reggie White passed away the day after Christmas. It was a sad day for me. And as far as I'm concerned, Reggie White is the greatest Eagle of all time. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, he ended up going to Green Bay and playing, and it's no disrespect to guys like Chuck Bednarik, Brian Dawkins, legends, all of them legends. But to me, Reggie White is the greatest Eagle of all time. And quite frankly, one of the top 3 players probably in NFL history. I will make the argument he's the greatest, most dominating defensive player ever in the NFL. You go Lawrence Taylor if you want, but for my money, nobody did it better than Reggie White, who passed away on this day in 2004. And then in 2015, Eagles lose to Washington 38-24 down at the Link. Ironically, Matthews and DeMarco Murray each scored a touchdown in this game. Those were the prize picks of Chip Kelly to replace LaShawn McCoy. Sam Bradford threw for 380 yards and a touchdown. Did have 2 turnovers, but the Eagles defense could not stop Kirk Cousins, who threw for 365 yards and 4 touchdowns. This ended up being Chip Kelly's last game as head coach of the Eagles, as he was fired a few days later before the last game of the season. And then in 2021, the Eagles win their 3rd straight game, beating the Giants 34-10 to improve to 8-7 on the season. Jalen threw for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith caught one, and Lane Johnson caught a touchdown pass. Yes, Lane Johnson caught a touchdown pass on this day in 2021. Giant killer Boston Scott also scored a touchdown. It set up a win and get in the next week for Nick Sirianni and the Eagles, which they would end up getting in. They would win the next game before losing the last game of the season, but on this day, 3rd straight win to improve to 8-7, 34-10 over the Giants. Jalen Hurts with 2 touchdown passes. Devontae and Lane Johnson. What? Yes, Lane Johnson with a touchdown pass.
It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday, only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
All right, it is Friday. That means it's time for Fridays with AI. AI still wanted to have a little bit of holiday fun. We did our Christmas wish list last week, and we're approaching the new year. Now, at the end, as soon as Christmas is over, today's Boxing Day if you celebrate. But we're approaching the new year, and with that comes New Year's resolutions and things like that. But before we do the New Year's resolutions, it's kind of a good chance. Everybody got new stuff yesterday. Everybody got new clothes, games, toys, whatever. It's time to kind of clean out some of that old stuff and get rid of things and leave certain things in 2025 so we can start fresh in 2026. And that's what the conversation with AI was today. And as always, Fridays with AI is brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And why not add some new stuff for the new year? They got you covered on all your Philly sports apparel. All right, so what are we leaving behind in 2025 so we can start fresh in 2026? Well, let's start with the Eagles. What are they going to leave behind? January implosions. Now, you might not know it because of the way they rolled through the playoffs last year, but 2002, 2003, 2004, 2008, you can go back to 1980, 1981, and the Super Bowl, all of those things. The Eagles tend to kind of implode sometimes. 2023 even. So we're leaving behind those January playoff implosions, and we need it to be more like that 2017 season and more like the 2024 season. And what are we going to replace it with? We're going to replace it with physical dominance. I still say the Eagles are probably the most physical and dominant team in the NFL. AI agreed with me, so that's what we're replacing it for. So that's what we're bringing out. January 1st is physical dominance. And AI's take on it is a championship Eagles team, they dictate chaos. So all the teams that won, even the 17 team, the last year's team, even going back to 1960, they dictate the chaos. They don't react to it. So you hear that, Eagles? Dictate the chaos. Don't react to it. All right, what are the Phillies going to leave behind in 2025? The almost dynasty narratives. From 1976 to 83, the Phillies won one World Series despite being one of the best teams in the National League. Same thing 2007 to 2011. And even now, from 2022 till now, had a couple of seasons, had the best record in the league, just could not get it done. Through all those dominant stretches, they've only got 2 World Series. So there's a lot of dynasty talk. If that any of those teams would have won one more World Series, they'd be in the dynasty conversation. They were dynasty-esque with the way they've continued to get to the playoffs, just haven't had that success. So we're leaving behind that almost dynasty narrative, almost dynasty-X narrative. And we're going to replace it with, and this starts with the front office, less loyalty and more leverage. This team needs to start playing chess and not go on the vibes. This team, especially this current iteration, was vibes. The 2007 to 2011 team, it was all about loyalty to the guys that won that. And that really put us in a hole for years. So we need less loyalty, more leverage, and build this team the right way. Don't bring in Bryce Harper's friends. Don't bring in old guys. Let's get a youth movement. And AI even says, October rewards killers, not romantics. So let's stop with the loyalty. I know we love these players. I'm not saying that Kyle Schwarber was a bad re-signing, but he is a little bit older. So let's stop being romantic and get some guys in here that will turn it on in October. For the Sixers, they're leaving behind second round fatalism. This Sixers team, according to AI, and I kind of agree, it was an interesting take, they're not cursed. They just play tight when it matters, starting with the big guy, number 21. So what we're going to replace that with is chaotic basketball. Run and gun. Let the stars fail, but fail loudly. So open it up. Don't play tight. Keep it as like a regular season vibe. Everybody talks about the NBA playoffs. The games tighten up. No, you got to continue to play the way that you got there. Some chaotic basketball. I like it. Just run and gun. And the Sixers do have the players to do that. And AI's take on it was you don't escape the second round by being careful. Be fearless. Don't be tight. Play the way that you got there. And then for the Flyers, they're leaving behind identity confusion. The Broad Street Bullies are dead. They're not coming back. It was 50 some years ago. The the Flyers teams that won the Stanley Cups, their names are almost off the cup now. It's time to stop living in the past and look ahead to the future. Finally, they have a direction, but does this team have an identity yet? We're not sure yet. So they need to find themselves in the new year. So what we're replacing that with is a clear timeline. Because even I don't know if Danny Briere or Keith Jones know where the timeline is. Are they rebuilding still? Are they kind of just gaining experience? Are they contenders? What are they going to do? Let the young guys play. Let them, just like with the Sixers, let them fail, but fail loudly. This team is fun. I do think under Rick Tocchet, they are sort of going toward and starting to create and forge their identity, but this team needs an identity. We need to move away from the Broad Street Bullies, and just like with the Phillies, we need to stop being romantic and loyal. Nothing against what those guys led by Bobby Clark and Bill Barber did, but it's a different NHL, and it's been 50-some years. That's unacceptable. The Flyers have been flying under the radar. They need to get an identity and get back and figure out who they are and become one of the more dominant teams in the NHL. And AI's take on this, relevance without direction is just noise. And I think the Flyers have been flying under the radar for just far too long. And then AI also had something for the Union. The Union needs to leave behind moral victories. They won the Supporters' Shield in 2020 and 2025. They got to the MLS Cup Final in 2022. And they're known as a well-run organization. The bottom line is the bottom line. They're making money, but it hasn't led to any titles yet. So they're admired for the way they run it, but they have no titles. So we're leaving behind those moral victories. And what are we replacing it with? A new philosophy. Keep the talent you have. Spend money to make money. You are on the cusp of having there is a decent following of Union, but if you can be consistently good, you can get a whole new level of fan. You can get more casual fans. But in order to do that, the front office of the Union needs to change their philosophy. They just got rid and cleaned house, and they're starting over fresh. But it has not led to a title. We need a title down in Chester. And AI's take on it is, at some point, the culture must cash in. They have this culture, but it hasn't led anything. So you got to kind of, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, yet expecting different results. And then finally, Philadelphia fans, here's what we need to leave behind. And this is even going to expand a little bit into our Philly sports media. I also am guilty of this as well. We need to leave behind overreaction Mondays or Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, whatever. Elite passion is what AI used to describe Philly fans. And I think that goes without saying. We have elite passion for our teams. Patience is not a virtue for Philly fans. And that's what we need to kind of get and work on, is be patient, because how many times this year has the Eagles season been over and now they're poised to make another run to the Super Bowl? We need to be patient. So what are we replacing it with? Breathing techniques. Enjoy the game. It's supposed to be fun. So breathing techniques are what we're replacing with. And AI's take on this was, listen, all of our sports seasons are marathons, not sprints. Stay steady, and you'll be good. All right, so that's what we're leaving behind. Next week, we're going to look at New Year's resolutions for Philly sports. But in order to start fresh and move on, you got to leave some of that stuff behind. So whether it's January implosions, the almost dynasty narrative, second round failures, identity crisis, whatever, we're leaving it all behind in 2025, and we're starting off fresh in 2026. That has been Fridays with AI, brought to you, as always, by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com, use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. On this day in 2021, Eagles win their third straight, beating the Giants 34-10, improving to 8-7, setting themselves up the next week for just one more win for them to get into the postseason. 2015, Chip Kelly's last game as head coach of the Eagles. Eagles lose to Washington 38-24. Rest in peace to Reggie White, who passed away on this day in 2004. Congrats to Larry Brown, who won his 800th game on this day in 2001, becoming the 9th head coach to do so. And of course, one of the greatest days in Eagles history. On this day, they beat the Green Bay Packers 17-13 at Franklin Field to win the NFL championship in 1960. We'll be back on Monday to rewind the weekend. Lots of Sixers, Flyers, and of course, the big Eagles game against the Bills. Still not too late to check out the Brotherly Birds breakdown. If you're still going out like we are today, we have a couple more Christmas celebrations to go. Be safe. Enjoy your time with friends and family. But most importantly, go Birds. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for December 26, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.